Good day, everyone. How is everyone doing out there? Welcome to another jam-packed episode of the Brew City Lounge. I am your host, Brandon. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Wisco_Brandon. Very, very, very excited to have you guys tuning in, whether you're currently out on the live stream right now or checking out the show wherever you get your podcasts. It's an absolute honor and privilege, as it always is, to be here talking about our favorite teams with you. Of course, I'm talking about the Milwaukee Bucks and Milwaukee Brewers. Lots to talk about. Some good stuff and some bad stuff, unfortunately, as that has all become too common in Milwaukee and unfortunately in the state of Wisconsin. Here shortly, I'll be joined by a special guest, Bart Winkler of 1250 AM The Fan out of Milwaukee. Excited to get his thoughts, excited to get him on the show. It will be the first time he's on the show, so I'm super excited for him to be a part of the show and kind of give us his thoughts on all things happening in Milwaukee and with our teams. And I'm very excited to announce State Summerfest has opened up their line of concerts that they're going to be having in September. That's really exciting. Kind of gets you excited for warmer weather when you think of Summerfest. And the news, I don't think I broke it into it on Tuesday, but State Fair is happening. So that is also exciting for the state of Wisconsin. Look forward to doing maybe a broadcast from that area. So super excited to see what happens there. A couple things to break into before we get Bart on the line. Bucks beat the Nets again Tuesday night. They beat them, and then they beat Washington yesterday in kind of a wild game, 135-134. The Bucks do remain half a game out of the 2 seed and 3 games out of the 1 seed with 6 games left to play. We're going to dive into the seeding and what possibly could be happening with the Bucks on the live stream. Adam, Noah, what's up, guys? Good to see you. Good. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Again, the live stream time is a little bit different. We try to keep it a little bit flexible, and make sure everybody can see it. And I do appreciate you guys jumping on. Brewers get swept in Philly. They are now 5-game losing streak. So a little bit of a struggle here in Milwaukee with baseball. They are in Miami tonight. Hopefully you get a bounce back game. Brent Suter's on the mound today. That should be interesting. I'm not really sure what to think about that, but needless to say, he is on the mound, and hopefully we are in desperate need of a win. 4 straight 9th inning rallies, and they all failed. It was a miserable, stressful baseball last few, 5 days. So we're going to dive into that. Is there any concerns there? Yelich is back on the IL. We'll kind of get into that a little bit and kind of get Bart's thoughts as long as my thoughts and kind of see where we are going forward. And then finally, we're going to end with the Bucks in the playoffs and his coach Bud on the hot seat. The Athletic and a couple other news outlets reported that if reports are coming out that Coach Bud doesn't make a serious run into these playoffs, Eastern Conference and beyond, that he is going to be on the hot seat and possibly out of a job. So we're going to look into that. What are Bart's thoughts about that? Coach Bud, very successful so far in Milwaukee and throughout his career. So we'll dive into a little bit of that and kind of get Bart's thoughts. And again, before we get into all the fun stuff, I do want to, happy to announce once again, a few shows ago, I announced that we are partnered up with Fanatics. If you follow the show on Facebook and Twitter, go ahead on the fan pages at the top of the page. Both links are pinned to the top of the page. I'm wearing a new hat that I got from Fanatics. It's absolutely, they have so many sales going on right now. I got free shipping. I mean, they got 65% off, 70% off site-wide. They're having a great sale. So go out over there, get on to Fanatics. Super excited to have partner up with them. And real quick, I did throw up a Twitter giveaway. Happy to announce that we did hit 500 followers here on the Brew City Lounge. Super excited for that. We'll be doing that giveaway later tonight, so please stay tuned if you do follow us on Twitter. And, of course, joining me now, brought to you by the folks over at One Call Technology. Give them a call at 888-585-8850 for all your business telecom needs. Mr. Bart Winkler of 1250 AM The Fan out of Milwaukee. You can follow him on Twitter at WinksThinks and listen to him every day, actually, as I do, from 6 to 10 a.m. Central Time out in Milwaukee on 1250 AM The Fan, and catch up on every show. Not radio.com anymore. It's now the Odyssey app. Bart, what's up, man? Thanks for joining me.
Can you tell I'm in my bed?
You look lovely, man. Did you get an afternoon nap in today?
No, I didn't. I was doing a a radio hit on ESPN Rochester.
Ooh, okay. Let me guess. Hold on. Before we get into everything, there's nothing else in Wisconsin to talk about other than the Bucks and Brewers. Is that correct?
Yeah, they called to ask me about Chris Middleton's late game execution in Rochester, New York.
I know they did. Oh man, I'm super excited. I know you're a busy guy, man. Thanks for jumping on. I do appreciate it. It's a solo podcast here on the Brew City Lounge, and I have an absolute blast doing it. Having different guys in every week, and we just break down Bucks and the Brewers. I was actually getting into some Summerfest and State Fair news. Obviously, the news of Summerfest, they opened up the line of concerts. I am kind of ashamed to say this, but I've never been to Summerfest, and I lived here for a while. And then I left when I joined the Army. And I just moved back. And then, of course, the summer I moved back, COVID happens. So I've never been to Summerfest. So I'm kind of excited. Maybe I'm in the minority, but I am excited to get to Summerfest this year. And State Fair. State Fair announced that they're staying as scheduled in August. So that's exciting, at least for the city of Milwaukee and the state of Wisconsin. How about you?
Yeah, it's exciting to start to do stuff again. I went to was at a bar the other day. Just for an hour. I didn't even have a drink. I was just in a bar. Oh, it was good to be in a bar again.
Just to be in like an environment. I know it's amazing.
Hey, that was fantastic. I went to I'm going to go to the Bucks game coming up next week. And I'm so like desperate for real life and to get back to normal. This isn't going to, I'm going to describe it, but it's not going to make sense. There's a park that I take my son to, and there's outside for no reason. There's a tent. There's nothing under it. It's like a tent that you would sell concessions at a summer festival. And I walked into the tent, and all these feelings came back. Like I'm somewhere. I'm at a thing, and I wasn't. But just so desperate to get back to normal. Summerfest. Yeah, I mean, I've been there a couple times. It is fun. There's those things that you can ride up.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that. They're scary.
Is that like when you're driving over 794, they sit like parallel with the high? Yeah, I know.
I don't know how people don't fall out of there all the time.
Yeah,
especially scary.
Especially at Summerfest, where we know that the beer's cold and the drinks are never ending. So you're right, though. There is a little bit of a liability issue there. So with that being said, I broke open the show and I said, my intro, welcome to the show. And I said, I got some good stuff to talk about and some bad stuff to talk about. So we're going to go ahead and start with the good stuff just because everybody deserves a little bit of positivity on this Friday, gorgeous Friday day out in Milwaukee, I should say. The Bucks beat the Nets again. They are a half a game out of the 2 seed. The Bucks do play tonight. The Nets do not play tonight. So technically, if the Bucks win tonight, they would be in that number 2 seed because they own the tiebreaker. And I had Bill Schmid, Billy, on Tuesday.
Billy,
yeah. And I said, I don't think like seeding, usually I would say I don't care about seeding. I'm a little worried about this year, though. I think seeding this year is a little bit more important than it has been, especially as far as to go to say the first round, Bart, because Miami and Boston still scare me a little bit. Let's just dive into it real quick. What are your thoughts on the Bucks seeding right now? Obviously, they're currently in the 3, but they have the opportunity to get in the 2 by tonight. I mean, they have a chance to get into that number 1, but I think with 6 games, right? Say the first, right? Exactly. The first seed is kind of out of range.
Schedule is not hard either.
Right. And they had a cupcake end of their schedule, and so 2-part question: does seeding matter to you this year? And then, based off of seeding, are you worried about the first round already?
Yeah. Yes, no. With seeding this year, nobody's talking about the home court aspect of it. At least I'm not hearing it. Everybody's talking about the matchup. So if the Bucks, don't have home court advantage, all right, we'll live. But it's the matchup, because to explain it again, as I'm sure everybody knows by now, you get the 1 seed, you are avoiding Brooklyn and Milwaukee. We're talking about Philly here. Mm-hmm. They're going to play each other. You play the winner. Pretty easy, or easier than having to play that team and then take on Philly. So obviously seeding's important. Then I didn't really think about how important it is to get the 2 seed, because if you get the 2 seed, you're playing a team that was in the play-in tournament. Even if it was just 1 game, if the 7th seed wins, they're still playing a game. but you get more rest than that team.
Mhm.
So seeding absolutely important. If there's a miracle way, and the Bucks did their part, they beat Philly in that back-to-back, but then Philly's been beating everybody because, again, the schedule for them is eased up at the end. So they look to be the one. Get the 2, man. Get the 2, at least have that home court advantage against the Nets if you can, and then you're playing a team in the first round. The first round, I know it does scare a lot of people. Boston's a team that scares a lot of people, even though I feel like the Bucks always take care of them. The Heat are going to scare people because of what happened last year.
Right. And I think
look at that as an anomaly.
Mhm.
I'm telling you, the Heat do not scare me. The Heat, maybe I'm too stupid and naive that they don't scare me, but they're not going to shoot the way they shot against the Bucks in that bubble. Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson were Steph and Clay against us in that series.
Right.
You don't hear much about them at all this year. Jimmy Butler, he'll be good. They don't have Jay Crowder, who was a Bucks killer. They're not the same. I'm not worried about the Heat at all, and I'm not worried about the Celtics. I just want that series to be as quick as possible so that when you do face the Nets, you're fully healthy and fully rested, or as rested as you can be. But I understand why people are worried, and maybe I'm the wrong one. But personally, I'm not too concerned about Boston or Miami.
And I'm mostly with you. The only thing I say about the 2 teams, and I'm again Miami, the only thing that quote unquote scares me, and I think that the Bucks win probably in 5, maybe 6, but with Miami is Bam Adebayo is physically probably one of a handful of guys that can defend Giannis, consistently. So my fear would be that Giannis and Bam. I don't want to say cancel each other out because Giannis is the 2-time MVP. He's clearly the better player, but Bam plays him tough. And then you have Jimmy Butler on Chris Middleton. And then it kind of turns into, Drew Holiday kind of taking over, which I think like in a series, he would be that number 2 option behind Giannis had, Bam gone up against Giannis the way that he's played against them. That would be my only fear. I don't think Boston's my fear. You don't want to see these teams like right away because you don't want to you lose 1 or 2 games early and then you're like, oh crap, like here we go. Now you lose home court advantage and the momentum kind of switches over. So I'm not necessarily worried about Boston. Jason Tatum's going to get his, but who else? I mean, Marcus Smart's banged up. So I'm not. Jaylen Brown's good, but he doesn't scare me. Miami, like you said, the bubble kind of put a little bit of that fear in Bucks fans just because, like you said, Tyler Hero is never going to shoot probably that good again. I don't think as a team they're going to shoot that good again. But you want to get that 2 seed because you want to if you do win the first round, I mean, you want that home court against whether it's going to be Philly or whoever the 3 seed is. I guess it would probably be Brooklyn. You at least want that home court advantage. And as the Bucks win 2 straight games against Philly, that I think matchup wise, they honestly, I don't think they're scared of Philly or Brooklyn, which is frustrating because then you see them drop games to like Charlotte and Houston.
Yeah.
And you're like, come on guys. Like, a few of these games turn the other way and we're looking at maybe the 1 or 2 seed. So I'm with you. I don't think there's a whole lot of fear there. I think the only thing that I would say would be fearful is that, Miami defensively matches up better than Boston does.
Well, and remember too, the Bucks are a good team.
Yeah.
I know that they're frustrating. I know that they've blown a few leads in the fourth quarter here in the last month of April, but I know the coach is tremendous frustration for a lot of people, but they are a good team. So maybe they don't get past Brooklyn. That's tough, man. We just saw them beat Brooklyn twice. We just saw that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was without James Harden. You're going to add James Harden back into that mix. That's going to be a whole nother recipe. But nobody can stop Giannis at this point. So we'll see what happens with Brooklyn and Milwaukee. But Milwaukee is a good team. I think we sell them short when we have these kind of conversations.
Yeah, and I always get it from people that either aren't Bucks fans or maybe they are, and they're like, well, what's your thoughts on this? Like, what is this Bucks team? And I'm like, that's a great question because as Bucks fans, as a guy that, you work in radio in Milwaukee, Monday through Friday, we don't really know yet, because I don't think that they've clicked yet in a way that they're capable of clicking. You talk about Giannis is the 2-time MVP. Chris Middleton, he gets a lot of flack. I'm a Chris Middleton defender. I go, every week I have a show, and I feel like I have to defend Chris Middleton from what, I see on Twitter. I think Chris Middleton's a phenomenal player, especially if he's your number 2 option. And then Drew Holiday, if he's your number 2 or he's your number 3, whatever order you want to put him in. But we honestly just haven't seen this team together enough to really know. And I don't think they know how good that they could be, because of the fact of, Drew Holiday was out with COVID. Giannis has had, the knee issues, and Chris Middleton missed the game Tuesday night. So I'm not even sure that the Bucks know, when fans and people, ask, what is this team? How good are they? How good can they be? I'm not really sure, because I don't think they know yet. And I think that they're going to find out very soon. But you don't want to find out when you're down, a game or 2 in the first round right away. That's my only concern going forward.
That's where Philly might have the advantage in the playoffs.
Right.
They know what they are. The Nets still have to. Again, they were talking about this on the last broadcast, I think, that I was watching. It was TNT, because I was watching BA, which I felt terrible for with retiring. I don't even watch his feed. But they were talking about how, you have Harden and Giannis, Harden and Durant and Kyrie playing together. Obviously, it's going to be good. But how does everybody else play off of them? So that, I think, is the question with the Nets. So the Nets not totally sure what their finished product's going to be. The Bucks as well. But I think the Sixers do know. A lot of people that we talk to on the show, national guys, they're going to lead towards the Sixers for that reason. 1 seed, cohesiveness. I think the Bucks, though, if they play up to their level, and if the coaching doesn't get in the way.
Man, Bart, you're an amazing radio guy, because you made the segue for me for my next topic. And you almost broke the show, broke the story live on, I was listening to you, I think it was Thursday, where an article came out where Coach Bud, if he doesn't make a deep run. So that's kind of where I wanted to go to next. In your opinion, take away everything that you hear, from the national guys or callers. In your opinion, he's 158-63 in the regular season. When you see that, you're like, wow, like, who would fire that? That's amazing. But then you look at his playoff record, and he's 15-10, and he got ousted, obviously, in the second round last year against the Miami team. I kind of tend to take that COVID year and kind of push it to the side. When you're playing a season and then you stop for 5 months, I think it was, or 4 months, whatever it was.
Yeah, I want to, but
I have to. I have to. I don't. I mean, a credit to the Lakers. That's fine. If they want to celebrate it, I'm not going to take it away from them. We would celebrate it here. But with that being said, in your opinion, is this a year that as a team that has a 2-time MVP, has a super max player, has a max player, has almost another max player in Drew Holiday? I think it's a pretty good roster. Obviously, you want to see guys like Dante be consistent. Pat Connaughton's shooting over 40% from the 3-point range this year. He's improved. He might be trying to save Coach Bud's job. I don't know. But in your opinion, is this a year where you're like, if Bud doesn't get to at least the Eastern Conference Finals, like, there's going to be some rumors going on that, they need somebody else in here, because you got the best player in the game, in my opinion. But I mean, I'm Homer, but I think Giannis is the best player in the game right now, defensively and offensively. The only thing that stops him really are the officials. But in your opinion, again, to ask, so I can finally ask the question, is Bud on the hot seat, barring a major playoff run?
Well, I thought he was on the hot seat after last year.
So did I.
Even with it being the COVID year, because what you saw them lose the same way they lost the year before. And I think the problem we had a good question come in today on the show. Why does Coach Bud, after two years, is from a listener, Brian, why does Coach Bud after 2 years have a lot more criticism than Coach LaFleur after 2 years? And I think it's because the Bucks, it just feels like they should have won 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It feels like they should have beat the Raptors. feels like he would have beat the Warriors. So you're still chasing that title. You're still chasing a title that got away from you, which is why the Bucks need to win more than maybe the Packers do, or at least Bud needs to win more than Matt LaFleur does, because they had one get away.
Yeah.
And why it got away was, again, a lack of adjustments. And everybody's screaming at him in the Toronto series. Everybody, even people that don't even understand how basketball works, they knew there was a problem there. The second year under Bud, good regular season again. And yeah, the situations were different, but they were different for everybody. And, the Bucks, they boycott that game, off the court stuff, affecting on the court stuff. You can talk about all that, but the way that the rotations were managed and the schemes were run, that still came down to consistently the same for Bud. There were no adjustments to counter the Heat. The Heat came in there desperate to try to figure out a way to get Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson open for threes. And they figured out within 5 minutes that the Bucks were just going to give them that. So the one thing they came in to scheme for was already there for the taking, and the Bucks
opening up
corrected that. So this year, what does he need to do to keep his job? So you go through it. If he wins the finals, he's back. If he gets to the finals, you're likely back. If you get to the Eastern Conference Finals and you lose, then it's going to depend how you lose. Did it go 7? Were you right there? Were you down 3-1 and then you came back? And it was 4-3. The Sixers ended up winning. So I think finals assured, no matter what happens, you get into the finals, Bud's back. You get to the Eastern Conference Finals, let's say you get swept, you're probably gone. It's going to depend what happens. In the second round, I think he can keep his job if they lose in the second round to the Nets. But that, again, is going to depend on, well, what happened? Was there an injury? Was there could you just not stop Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving like nobody is designed to do? Or did you just get beat up? Could you have countered? Do you know coming in based on the 2 games that Giannis can't be stopped by them as good as they are offensively? They can't stop Giannis, but you didn't exploit that strength. So obviously a first-round exit, he gone. The finals, I think he stays. Those other 2 rounds, it's going to depend, well, what happened? And did you at least learn from your failures from a year ago? I saw the comment come in, if not Bud, then who? I don't know. I have no idea.
I'm in the same boat. Yeah. People ask me, they're like, the dude's got 160 wins. Like, who else do you want?
The regular season, in this case, has to mean nothing.
Right.
When you're looking at his future.
Right.
Yeah. The Bucks were bad for a long time, and they have the best regular season record in the league. It's a very cool thing. But we are past that now. Even though it will never, as a Bucks fan, you're trained for misery all the time. We are clinched the playoffs this week. Nobody noticed.
It's not even a story anymore.
Nobody noticed because it was just somehow it was assumed. Well, I understand there's still that part of Bucks fans that in Bucks fandom is just ingrained in us that we're always bad. But they're at a point now where they've got to find the right guy to take them to the next level. And if this guy is Bud and he gets 3 cracks at it, I'm sorry, I don't need to know who the next person is before I know that this person isn't the right person.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the hate and I wouldn't say hate, a lot of the criticism coming on Bud is, corner threes, the not, making any kind of in-game changes. And now the Bucks are switching more on defense than they ever have. Actually switching more on defense in the most in the NBA right now by a pretty big margin. So it's interesting to see, that he is obviously hearing, these criticisms. Maybe he's hearing the players, tell them, hey, but coach, we got to switch up on these guys. For whatever reason, they're still wide open on half the time. What was it against Atlanta? You saw Bogdanovich. He didn't even know what to do when he caught the ball. Like, he was so wide open. He was like, oh, okay. Like I'll shoot it, I guess. So it's going to be interesting going into the playoffs, seeing what adjustments are made, if any are made, if they are experimenting in the regular season, because it kind of has a feel to that. A lot of these games where you go into the game, you're like, oh, like Houston game a couple weeks ago, like Kevin Porter Jr., like 50 points. Like, I mean, what are we doing here? Like, was it just a weird game for Drew Holiday, or I don't know. So I think I'm kind of with you. I think that right now, 2019, that Toronto series was the best chance. And I'm afraid, I don't want to say their window's closed, because you have Giannis, you have that MVP, you have that caliber, type player for the next 5 years, and obviously Drew and Chris Middleton are also signed with Giannis into that run. So I don't want to say the window's closed. I think 2019 was your best time to get a title, but do you think the window's closed? Like, and now
no, it's not closed, but they're still chasing that. They are still chasing that, and you're gonna have to figure out, like, well, how do you keep the window open? If you're going to find out if Bud's the guy or not, you're going to find that out, because then you have to look at other stuff. Well, maybe Middleton's not the right guy. I mean,
right.
You think he is. I think he is. Maybe he's not. So then you have to find that out. So you gotta figure out what's right and what's wrong as you go forward here. I do think that Bud's job is on the line. It's definitely on the line. I don't know what the benchmark is.
It's gonna be interesting, to say the least. I think, as the NBA's product right now, I think, is hurt right now because of multiple players being out, because of quote unquote injuries, and for last, what was it, 2 nights ago against Washington, they shot 50 free throws. Like, come on, like, are we serious? Or it was almost 50. It was like 45 or something like that. So this is going to be a big year for the NBA as far as playoffs go. Everybody wants Brooklyn versus LA. In your opinion, before we transition to the Brewers, where do you see this Bucks team going forward? Is it Eastern Conference Finals? Is it the second round? Is it the finals? Your prediction. I'm putting you on the spot. I didn't even message you about this, but I got to ask you real quick. Where do you see this Bucks team going forward?
They're going to win the finals.
My man. I'm with you. I don't want to give the Cowherd jinx. He was on, I think, yesterday.
What if I'm wrong? Who cares?
They're going
to win the finals.
But Bart, it really does have a feel of like nobody's figuring out. Every year.
I think it's the winner of Nets Bucks. I don't think it's Philly.
I don't think it's Philly either. Philly, I don't think, is very good. They're talented, obviously, but I just don't think they're very good. And Doc Rivers' track record, I know in Boston he won a title, but lately it hasn't been very good. So I'm with you. We both got the Bucks going to the finals and winning. I'm going to transition to a team that I'm trying to get to healthy.
Can you read this?
Is it Hernan Perez?
Yeah, he's back, baby.
We're breaking news on the Brew City Lounge. Infielder, outfielder, whatever, pitcher.
He's going to Nashville right away.
Hernan Perez signed to the AAA affiliate down in Nashville. That's interesting, and that kind of leads me into exactly what I want to talk about with these Milwaukee Brewers. Losers of 5 straight. Four of the last 5 have been excruciating and frustrating beyond belief. You fall down early and you fight the whole game to get back in the 9th inning. It's right there. And again, batting sub 200 with runners in scoring position. It is absolutely frustrating. Yelich is back on the IL. It feels like every other day there's an injury. I think they're down to their 3rd or 4th string catcher right now. Yelich has only played 1 game since April 11th from a guy that deals with back pain. I'm concerned with Yelich. I called into Timmy
I think Yelich might be the bigger long-term concern than Aaron Rodgers here, man.
I agree. And I called into Tim a couple weeks ago. I actually went to a game. So I was driving home and I called him in and he was like, there's nothing to, Tim, the most optimistic Brewer fan you'll ever meet. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, Tim Allen on 1250 AM The Fan, he does the post game and by far the best job at it. He's an awesome dude. I actually ran into him at Vegas. That was fun.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So I called him in and he was like, oh, the MRI came back clean. He goes, Brewers fans, we got nothing to worry about. I said, Tim, that's more worrisome than finding something wrong, because when there's something wrong, you know what to fix, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
the fact that he hasn't played one game in almost a month, and we don't know what the issue is, that's worrisome, because there's obviously there's a disconnect between something and someone, and it's absolutely worrisome. And obviously, of course, the one guy that nobody in the world thought that the Milwaukee Brewers were going to be able to retain in Christian Yelich. And keep in mind, that deal went so far under the rug because that was right as like COVID started. But the deal was so like cheap. I know he gets paid to like he's 50, but who cares? Like, it was a really good
very team friendly. Yeah,
it's very team friendly.
Win-win, but team friendly.
So you get super excited. You're like, we got Yelich, man. We're locked in for 10 years. Giannis is here for another 5 years. And then the back injury. And then it seems to be so far this year. They're keeping their head above water. They're 17-14. They have a game against Miami tonight at 6:10. Brent Suter's on the mound. So that should be fun. What are your thoughts real quick going into the first month or so of the season? I guess we're almost a month and a half in. Pitching's kind of come down a little bit to earth a little bit. It's not as dominant as it was, and we kind of anticipated that was going to be the case. As the weather warms up, the bats warm up is the same. But I mean, losing 5 straight, you never want to get swept. Nothing against Philly, but you probably should have won at least 2 or 3 of those games. Easily could have won 2 or 3 of those games.
Yeah.
And it's just a frustrating spot right now. So what are your thoughts real quick on the overall Brewers? Injuries are obviously
everything that you said to lay it out. All those things you said, if you go back to opening day and present that scenario, this guy's going to get hurt. This guy's going to get hurt. Back injury, 4th-string catcher. And you'd say, oh, my God, 8-23?
Yeah.
No, 17-14.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Wow. Yeah.
So, yeah, and again, with the Brewers, I think this year is going to be more fun than previous years. I think we're in a good spot here where it's going to be fun because there are somewhat expectations. Like, this team's not going to be a 65-game winner. They're not going to be terrible. They're not going to win 100. They probably will win somewhere in the 80s, 80 to 89. And then it's just going to – we'll see what happens. So you give them all these obstacles, and that's the record to start with. The Dodgers series was great. You do need to pick up wins along the way. You're going to have series where you struggle. You're going to have series where you can't hit. You're going to have series where, you leave men on base. And those are things that you want to fix. But this is a long season, and a lot of that does even out. Win 60, lose 60, what you do in the middle. So I'm not like – it was weird. They lose those 3 games after opening day, and people were panicking. Now they just lost 5 in a row, and maybe it's because of the Rodgers stuff and Bucks are going on. It doesn't seem freak out mode. They got to win. If not tonight, tomorrow. I mean, you can't. The problem with losing streaks is once it goes 5, it's very easy to go 6.
Oh yeah.
Then 7, then 8. It's easier to lose. It's harder to win a game when you haven't won in a while, is what I'm trying to say. So they do have to get a win relatively soon. 2 or 3 this weekend would be great. I believe their young guy Rodgers is on the mound tonight.
He dominated us game 1. Was it last week?
Bullpenning it tonight, so that's going to be tough.
Yep.
So I mean, if you got this one tonight, that would be massive.
Mm-hmm.
But again, for where they're at, and then you just you get these guys back to health. You get Burns back. Burns missing some time is crucial. You get Woody to continue to pitch like this. The bullpen's been good. They were good that series. They just you're relying on Eric Lauer and Josh Lindblom and Brett Anderson and Bettinger and guys that you didn't expect to rely on. So that's why organizational depth is so key for this franchise. But I just think that they're in a good spot where if they were supposed to be the Dodgers or the Padres or the Yankees, 17-14, you could be a little concerned, but they weren't. And they're doing a little better. Even I think a lot of us would have taken 500 at this point. And the NL Central is going to be tight all year. So there's things to be concerned about in the team in terms of a big picture. Do we panic? Absolutely not. But there's things to be concerned about. Like, why can you never get guys home?
That's frustrating.
That's the problem. Yelich, we have no idea. That's a problem. But big picture, I think they're in a pretty good spot for what they've had to deal with.
Yeah, and I think that going forward, and I said it Tuesday on my show on Tuesday. Credit to David Stearns. I mean, honestly, if you would have told me, at this time they didn't lose 3 straight. I think Tuesday they were like 17-11. So if you would have told me going into that Phillies series, you're not going to have Yelich. Kane's just going to be coming back, and he's back on day off Ryan Braun type rotation. JBJ is going to be underperforming. You're going to be down to your 3rd string catcher. Your best pitcher is going to be on the IL. And you just won 3 out of 4 against the Dodgers, and you won the first 3 series against the Cubs. I would have been like, okay, like I will sign up for that any day of the week. Like, absolutely. So I think as a Brewer fan, as a Milwaukee fan, we like to get down as soon as we see a losing streak and we're like, crap, we're waiting for that shoe to fall, so to speak. We're always looking for, the bad part of whatever it is to come. So I think they're in a good spot. And credit again and I said it on Tuesday's show, David Stearns, man. I mean, if you would have told me too at the beginning of the year, Billy McKinney was going to be playing a major role and Daniel Vogelbach, and you were going to ship out Arcia for Luis Urias, I love the guy. I think he's phenomenal. He's a young kid. Everybody likes to, jump down his throat every time, but he's been phenomenal. And he's been clutch in a lot of moments. David Stearns has a vision, and obviously so does Craig Counsell moving forward. And I think that I pray to God that they figure out this Yelich injury, because it does feel like Ryan Braun-esque as far as, the maintenance of the back, playing every game, or playing home games, sitting in the 3rd game of every series. And it's a concern moving forward. But to go back on your point about hitting the ball with runners in scoring position, they're not even hitting the ball, Bart. Like, we're talking about bases loaded, no outs.
Bad, I think Tim the other day told me, you referenced Tim. I think he said the other day, Jackie Bradley Jr.'s OBP is like 240. It's
as a team,
OBP.
As a team, we're last in the National League in batting average. I mean, dead last. As far as the major leagues go, we're in 27th. I mean, it's really, really bad. And for the most part, we saw this kind of at the beginning of the year where, pitchers would go, they would only allow 1 or 2 runs and we would sneak out with a win because, late hitting or, clutch moments or whatever. But now you kind of see that pitching kind of coming down a little bit, especially with Corbin Burns on the IL. But that batting, in my opinion, if it doesn't get moving up in the up direction, they're in for a little bit of trouble here, I think, going forward.
Again, I don't know what you do about that. You just got to let them get more reps. A lot of it's troubling, and we're not getting the production out of Keston Hiura, who's in the minors,
right
at this point. They do need to get the bats to wake up. I don't know. I thought a lot of encouraging things with the hitters. Andy Haynes, we all want him fired, but he specifically worked in the offseason. He travels to Miami, works with Narvaez. Well, Narvaez was doing well, and then he got hurt. He works with Garcia. He's on a 7-game hit streak. So I think that with the hitting coach, way too quick to. I don't feel like we do that in any other position.
No.
We never say in football, oh God, they're giving up so many sacks. Fire the O-line coach.
No,
I don't feel like we ever do that.
And out of all people, you would know because you get all the Monday morning calls. So after a Packer game.
But with baseball and the hitting coach, it's always like, okay. So the same people are like, well, who are you going to hire if you fire Coach Bud? I don't know. Well, you got to figure it out. Oh, okay. Well, fire the hitting coach. Well, who are you going to hire? What's he even do anyway? Well, then why you want him fired? I don't know.
Well, it goes to as far as Andy Haynes goes, and I don't, I'd be lying to you if I knew who to hire, like as far as a hitting coach. I don't know. Most of these guys are professionals, and you feel like they should know what they're doing by now. But a lot of people point to, well, the Cubs fired him for a reason, and now as soon as the Cubs fired him, their batting average spiked over 300 as a team within the first 6 months of the season. Well, that just could be coincidence. I mean, it doesn't mean Andy Haynes is doing anything wrong. He's not going up there. He's not going up there and telling Yelich, hey, swing at, all the bad stuff and let the good stuff come through the middle. The frustration I have is you got a guy in first and third, second and third, first and third, whatever it is, no outs, 1 out, and you're just sitting there like, watching pitch after pitch go right by you, and then you're down 0-2. And then obviously you're going to, swing at junk because you're protecting the plate and you're jumping into, protection mode. I don't know. It's a frustrating thing to watch when you're as a fan. And I'm not a professional athlete. I wasn't the best at baseball, but I know if I got guys on, first and third, maybe even bases loaded, put it in play at the very least. Get it out of the infield, get it into the infield. I don't care. Striking out. It was the other day. They had bases loaded with no outs and they didn't score a run. That you should automatically lose a game after that. That is pathetic. And it's frustrating. And if it includes, doing a squeeze, I mean, Craig Counsell's as creative as it gets. Do something, man. Because watching that happen every game, which I guess probably isn't every game, but majority of
this week felt very Groundhog's Day.
It felt like every day was the same. And you're like, dude, the ninth inning, we're right there again. First and third, one out. Like, come on. I don't know. It's frustrating to watch these Brewers. You hope that they just turn it around. And I think at this point of the season, it's just about getting healthy. I think once they get these guys back into a normal, it's kind of like the Bucks. It has a real Bucks feeling to it because we didn't really know what this Bucks team was all about because they really haven't all played together a whole lot. And it's kind of like that with this Brewers team. I think, Bill Schroeder made a comment about it when Yelich and Kane first came back, that opening game against Philly. And he said, this is kind of what, the first three batters of the lineup should have looked like with Juan, Kane, and Yelich coming to the plate. And you haven't had it at all, pretty much. I mean, Juan was on the IL, Kane has been on the IL, and Yelich has been on the IL. As far as the division goes, where do you see the Brewers? You said between 80 and 89. I have them at 90. Sparky was on a couple weeks ago. He said 92. Horvey said 89. So I'm kind of just getting all your guys' feel for it. As I peg all my guests off of 1250 AM The Fan out of Milwaukee. What are your
I like that.
What are some of your thoughts as far as the division goes? You see, I mean, St. Louis is creeping up there now. They 18 and 14. The Cubs have won, I think, 3 in a row. They swept the Dodgers.
Yeah. But
the Dodgers are falling apart. I mean, they've lost. They're like 0-7 or 1-7 in their last 8 games. So as far as the division goes, where do you see these Brewers at? Healthy.
Obviously. I think they win. I took them to win the division. If I'm going to say Brewers, put me down for 87. But then the Cardinals are going to have 86. So it's going to be very, very close. Every game does count. Every game matters. I know that's what's hard about baseball is you get to September, you need 2 games. Every game matters. You think of these 4 games, and you're like, well, what can you do? It's baseball. But both are like true. So it's very hard to balance the long term and the short term when every game does matter. If the Cardinals can figure out a way to do something at the deadline, that could make them a little more tough. The Cubs seem like they don't want to be good, but they're good.
They have the talent. I mean, they do.
The Reds are always an enigma. Pirates exist. I think that these 4 teams, whatever, throw in the Pirates, a lot of it's gonna come down to health, and that's just not something that you can predict. Talent wise, if they are healthy, the Brewers pitching can be matched with anybody. I mean, if you really start to let yourself go and think of the Brewers in a playoff series, and you can put Woodruff and Burns and the Peralta that you had the first couple of starts,
right?
Who's getting out of a series against them? It's very, very scary. Add a healthy lineup to that. So I think that health's going to play a big role. I think the trade deadline is going to be very important if any of these guys can add pieces. But the Brewers they just got to stay what their strengths are. The defense and pitching thing is working for the most part. And it seemed like Travis Shaw, ever since after Saturday's game, he said, hey, if we need 5 runs, we get 4 or 6. He's very soft-spoken.
Yeah.
We need 3 runs. They have 2. If they don't have any runs, we get 1. It just seems like we always – ever since he said that, now they're always like 1 run short. But it was true for a while. So I'd still like the Brewers. Put me down for 87.
87, okay.
I do think that health is the factor. And then it'll be interesting to see what these teams do at the trade deadline, where they feel like they are at. Because I know that a lot of names still get mentioned for the Cubs as sellers, but I don't know that that's something that they do. I think if they wanted to trade these guys, they would have traded these guys already. I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. You're going to see a shift of power one way or another, in my opinion, as far as the NL Central. Now, unless the Brewers luck into the Cardinals and get paid to take a Gold Glove MVP candidate, Nolan Arenado, the Cubs are the wild card, in my opinion, as far as the division goes. The Brewers are pretty much locked up. You know what you're going to get. I mean, all their pitchers are locked up for now. Yelich is obviously locked up. Hopefully he stays, or at least gets healthy. Kane's, probably out the door eventually within the next year or two. So the Brewers you kind of know about. The Cardinals you kind of have an idea about. I think the Cubs are the wild card because that can go one or two ways. My opinion, and I said this before the season even started, as much as I hate the Cubs, talent-wise, they probably have the most talent from top to bottom on that roster, 1 through 9. Starting pitching, could use a little bit of improvement. But as far as positional players, they probably have the most talent. But you could see a shift in power here if they do decide to disband that team. Now, I'm not a Cubs expert, but I know they offered Rizzo a cheap deal and he declined. So he's a free agent. I believe Chris Bryant is as well. And yeah. I don't know about Javier Baez, but you could see it, realistically, if they were like, hey, we're going to rebuild, new president of baseball operations, and just want to, we had our run, we made a run, we got a World Series. If you see the Cubs disband and lose a bunch of those pieces, I mean, you could easily see the Brewers slide into that role in which the Cubs had and be contenders every single year. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and that's why, it's so important to figure out what's going to happen this next month and a half, 2.5 months before you get to the trade deadline. Because if you've got, if the Cubs are like trying to figure out where they want to go and they're maybe 3 games either way of 500, but so is everybody else, they're not going to sell. You're probably going to stay and maybe even buy a little bit. It'd be nice to get healthy, to get separation, because this could be a division where it looks like the Brewers, Cubs, and Cardinals are all in there in September, and then the Reds rattle off 11 in a row, in the middle of that month, and then they're in first place. So
I could see that.
This division, when we say it's tight and it's close and it's anybody's, that's for a reason. There's no favorite here. They have all got their pluses. They've all got their minuses. And I think, whatever the Brewers do and Cardinals do is going to factor into what these other teams do. As far as being contenders for a while, you have this great pitching. That's a great start. You just got to keep figuring out who the long-term pieces are around you. Colton Wong's not going to be here forever. Jackie Bradley Jr. is not going to be here forever. So how sustainable are they but that's their model. Bring in these guys. Bring in Moose. Bring in Grandal. Thank you. See ya. Bring in Wong. Bring in JBJ. Well done. Now we need another person. And so maybe the Cubs think instead of re-signing these guys, maybe we could find younger guys, start again. We'll see what they do.
It's gonna be interesting. And like you said, David Stearns is always ready to deal come trade deadline. I think with the depth of the team, although I love the depth of the team, obviously when you lose, half your starting lineup and you're able to sweep the Padres and beat the Cubs and the Cardinals and the Dodgers, I do feel like if somebody big is available at that point of the season, I don't think David Stearns is going to shy away from that. I don't think he's ever really shied away from it. It's going to be interesting. I think that going forward, as long as these guys do get healthy, I'm with you. As far as the win total, I do see them closer to the 90 range. And with the Bucks too, I think this is the year, man. I mean, this better than anybody. 2010, 2011 with the Packers was a long time ago. This city is dying for a championship. I mean, they are absolutely.
Well, Milwaukee, especially
Milwaukee more than, I'm friends with Alabama fans and Cubs fans and, all fan bases all over. And, they're like, oh, we suck too. And, Cubs fans will say that, you guys had a championship, man, in 2016. We would do anything for one. 2019 with the Bucks and the Brewers, the 2018 Brewers, that fall of 2018, so close, so close. We still celebrate the 1982 Brewers team, which drives me absolutely nuts. I hate it. Like, I don't want to celebrate a team from 10 years before I was born. You know what I mean? Like, I want success in this city. I feel like we're on the cusp of that, whether it's the Bucks or Brewers. I know you said you think the Bucks will win the finals this year, and I I agree with you.
Oh yeah, I did.
But at the end of the show, if I have a guest, I like to ask them hypotheticals. If, in your opinion, who wins a championship first, the Milwaukee Bucks or the Milwaukee Brewers? And is it I don't think we're going to have 2 championships in the same year, but who do you think wins one first and why?
Oh, I would say the Bucks just because of Giannis. I mean, I would say the Bucks. The Brewers, what do you need in the NBA? You need a superstar.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you need in baseball? You need a good payroll.
Or luck. Yeah.
Well, you can win without a good payroll in baseball. The Rays got close. But you do need a superstar in the NBA. And you need close to superstar pieces around him. And the Bucks do have that. So I would say the Bucks are closer. The Bucks are closer.
I agree with you. I think the Brewers are probably a year, maybe just a year away. I think, they started out hotter than we anticipated, especially with all that's gone wrong. But I'm with you. Giannis is the needle pusher. He's going to get it over the hump. And there's not a bigger chip on anybody's shoulder than Giannis. I know LeBron, is coming back from injury. See how the Lakers and Anthony Davis went out last night with back spasms. So we'll see what goes on in the West. I think the East, I feel really good. I know they were 2 wins against Brooklyn recently, and they didn't have James Harden. But as Marcus Johnson likes to say, that's not our problem, So yeah, I like the Bucks going forward. I'm with you in that aspect. I do want to take the time and thank you for joining the show. It's so greatly appreciated. I'm only in the first month of this show. And I have a lot of fun with it and bringing guests on, especially guys that I listen to every morning. Again, guys, ladies and gentlemen, at Winks Thinks on Twitter. He is the host and I guess the owner of the Bart Winkler show. Is Horvey still upset about that?
Well, Horvey, I never know when he's going to be there. So I don't know.
He's kind of ditched you a little bit. I noticed. That's okay.
Well, Horvey, he's been hitting some bets, so more people want. He's in high demand, and I'm happy to share him.
Yeah, but real quick, so the viewers can take a listen to this, and I don't even remember if you remember, but I have been listening to Bart for a very long time. I was in Afghanistan in 2013, and you used to take my calls for the Chuck and Wicket show. I don't know if you remember, but
I do.
Yeah,
I used to call you talk to Wicket on Twitter.
Yeah, so I actually just DM'd him the other day. But so I've been a big fan of yours, man, for quite some time, and I really do appreciate you jumping on it. It absolutely means the world to me. Guys, again, I'll drop those handles at Winks Thinks. He is the host of the Bart Winkler Show on 1250 a.m. The Fan out of Milwaukee, 6 to 10, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. That is. Also, catch him up on the Odyssey app. I would be remiss before we go if I didn't give a shout out to all the mothers out there coming up on Sunday. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms. All of you are fantastic. A special happy Mother's Day to my mom. She is the most amazing woman that I know. She is phenomenal. I know she's watching. She makes sure she tunes into every podcast I do. So
great.
Thank you, Mom. Happy Mother's Day. I love you. Bart says hi. Again, if you guys are interested, jump on the social media pages on Twitter, on Facebook, at Brew City Pod. We are sponsored by Fanatics. Jump on the page, click that link, shop for your favorite team's apparel. Also, before we go, don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Google. Find me on Twitter at Wisco_Brandon. Interact with me. I'm very, unfortunately, lately, because of the Aaron Rodgers news, I'm constantly on Twitter. So I will see. I
haven't been on Twitter in an hour. I'm panicking.
Exactly. So we'll get out of here. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. I do greatly appreciate it. Have a great day, Milwaukee. Take care, and let's go.